Hey everyone, I'm Jeff, and today I'm here with Andrew Kim of the LA Gladiators, and we're going to be talking to him today about his role as team manager for them. But before we get to the LA Gladiators, I want to touch quickly on NYXL since you were with them before.
hmm
And I know from my experience talking to the players that you were pretty instrumental in getting NYXL players settled in the US as they were an all Korean team as their player manager. So, can you tell me, first off, about the experience of getting a team like that settled in the US?
Yeah, so first I was in LW, Team LW before New York Excelsior was formed. So I got to like meet them and then gonna like get to know them a little bit for a few months before Overwatch League started. So I remember coming to the States like by myself like a couple months before the players did, so I can set up everything.
Hmm.
Yeah, so basically, I mean, they were like all like grown up and they were like young adults, but at the same time, even the people who could speak English, like Ark or like Wizard Young at that time,
Hmm.
even they needed some help in terms of like, just starting over basically in a new country.
Yeah.
So, like the very basic stuff like getting your social security number and then getting how to get a ID card from a DMV and stuff like that. I remember doing those in the beginning of the year for everybody, and then if a new player comes in like Anamo did during season one, then I got to do that for any new players that come in to the team during the season or after the season. So yeah, so ID cards, get all of them. I got all of them like a bank account
Hmm.
so they can get paid and stuff like that, credit cards or whatever. Yeah, so just basically just since they were all full Korean team, not a single one had any experience living in America,
Yeah.
except me. So yeah, I basically had to do it like help them with every single thing, just from bottom to top. But once they got kind of acclimated, and then since it was a full Korean team, like it was kind of hard for them to learn English
Hmm.
because they were never really forced to speak English, unless they were talking to like maybe fans sometimes or
Hmm.
yeah, very few times, maybe like English class like twice a week maybe. Other than that, they're not really trying to like speak English and learn it. So yeah, even though English, like some players, it also depends on the player. Like if they really want to learn English, then if they really try like themselves, they can actually learn like pretty quickly. But um, most players don't have that much time. So so even though they got acclimated, I mean after they got acclimated a little bit, um, then it was like a little like little less work for me like day to day. But yeah, I remember in the beginning it was like a lot of work just getting them like just starting them like a new life basically.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. I know it's such a unique situation to kind of be in, but I think it's one that is not terribly unusual in the esports world. So
Yeah,
thank you for
right.
covering that. But let's talk about LA Gladiators since you are with the LA Gladiators now. What is kind of the difference between what you did in NYXL as a player manager to being a team manager now for Gladiators?
Yeah, so basically it's really the same thing. There's not that much difference. Yeah, so like in New York, it wasn't like I wasn't helping the coaches with anything just because I was a player manager. I was helping coaches or anyone that needs help. I was helping them. So it wasn't like I was only helping the players. And same thing here. I'm helping the players, coaches,
Hmm.
whatever. So um, yeah, so there's not really much difference in terms of what I do in both teams.
All right. So then, kind of like during the regular season, because we're in off season now. Like during the regular season, what does your average week look like as team manager?
Um, so what I do as a manager, like day to day, kind of depends on like what stage of the season it is. So in the like preseason, maybe I'm kind of really busy because
Hmm.
especially in New York, but I guess in the Gladiators too. But just getting non-US players visa, it's actually like a lot of work. It's not just me doing it; it's also like a visa company that helps us do it.
Hmm.
But still, it's a lot of work on our staff.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of work for players and a lot of work for us. And so during the preseason, it's I think mostly I spend a lot of my time on visa. Remember last season, since last season was supposed to be the first season of like traveling and
Hmm.
stuff. So I remember actually flew to Korea to look for practice facilities that we
Okay.
can use during our Korea trip.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so those two things come to my mind when I think of like preseason, and then when the season started, it was mostly like like housing, I guess, house related stuff.
Okay.
So just getting getting players like making a good making an livable environment for them, making sure they have a bed or room, whatever. Like, make sure things are fixed, make sure AC is working and stuff like that.
Oh, very important in LA.
Yeah, yeah, very important in LA. So, yeah, I think in the beginning of the season it's mostly like housing and then just helping players or coaches get whatever they need to live, in an apartment or team house or wherever they're at. Um, let's see, and then also uh, like a few days before a match, like
Hmm.
my job also like kind of um gets really busy when like matches, like Overwatch League matches.
Hmm.
So I guess on the match day, there's a lot of things that I have to do. So I have to make sure that players all have their stuff first of all, and then
So that's like keyboards and mice and everything.
right, yeah, their equipment. I mean, it was a different like this year and like last season when we were in Blizzard Arena, but like concept is pretty much the same. Make sure they have their stuff. And this year, this season, since we had to do like online matches, there were like pre-match like integrity stuff that we had to do. Making sure players don't cheat or anything.
Yep.
So yeah, things like that, and then I have to make sure that all the players have the right patch installed on their computer. Since it was online matches, so I had to do those things
Hmm.
myself. But if we were in like a Blizzard arena or
At home
any
stands.
other like homestand, right, homestands, I'll just have to kind of just be there to make sure
You'd put out fires, I'm assuming. It's kind of like.
yeah, yeah, and then just like so they're called PRCs. They're like people who basically just help players at their arenas.
Hmm.
So they'll be doing most of the stuff, but I just have to be there to make sure like, things are going okay. Let's see, and then yeah. So this season was also like a new let's see, like it was more work for me this season for the matches as well because uh, like season 1 and 2, we only needed like US visas for players.
Hmm.
But this year, we were supposed to go to Korea, China, London, Paris, stuff like that. So we were actually getting ready to get visas for 4 different countries at one point.
Oh man, that has to be incredibly complicated and difficult.
Yeah. So I mean, I can't imagine how busy that would be because we didn't end up doing it. But yeah, I imagine that would be pretty busy if we were to do it.
Hmm.
Let's see, and what else? I mean, just day to day is I don't really have like a set schedule. I don't have like a 9 to 5.
Hmm.
Like every day practice is different. Time is different. Every day review time is different. Sometimes you have matches at like 5 p.m., 6 p.m. that goes until I remember when we were in Blizzard Arena,
Oh
I
man.
came back I came back home at once at like 1 a.m. I think.
Yep, I remember some of those.
Yeah, so I don't really have a set schedule, so I can't really give you like an
Yeah,
average
that's
day.
totally fine. I think
Yeah, but
you've answered it pretty
yeah,
well.
but one thing that's constant is that like if players or coaches need anything, that I'm the one that's kind of helping them, do whatever they gotta do.
Awesome. Okay, so I think you covered it, but I'm gonna ask anyways. Like, what
Yep.
would you say are the biggest challenges you've encountered throughout the Al seasons?
So challenges are honestly for me, it's like just doing work that like things that just requires my time and effort. It's not really like hard for me because I just I'm pretty confident in like in terms of my work.
Hmm.
But what's really challenging is like um people like probably don't see much of it, but like in like behind the scenes of like sports teams or esports teams, um, there's a lot of like conflicts and like little you know uh like little troubles. Not
Hmm.
like huge arguments or anything. We actually didn't have much arguments this season, but just like mm,
Be something like a microaggression or something from a player to another player.
uh not even aggression, but it's just disagreements and
Okay.
like maybe okay, for example, maybe a player doesn't want to do something that a coach just asked him to do. This is a complete example. I'm not saying this happened in real life, but yeah, if that were to happen, then you know, I have to like talk to the player and the coach, figure out a solution. You know, so things like that don't really have an answer. Like things like visa or whatever. Like I can't if I get a visa, that's the answer. That's the end. But if two people have disagreements, then there's no answer for that. I gotta find like a middle ground between the two people or two parties. So that is probably the hardest part. Things that don't really have an end answer. Things that I gotta like manage basically. Like yeah, that's part of management, but that's
Yeah.
probably the hardest thing about any management team. I'm assuming.
Okay. And then how much do cultural differences come into play in your job?
mm, so it was quite different in New York and here. Obviously, New York was full Korean team, everyone same culture. Um, So I guess it was pretty easy. Like I just had to be Korean the whole time.
Yeah.
Just Korean culture, that's it. But I guess in Gladiators it was a little different. Well, first of all, I'm like it's probably easier for me than most people because I grew up like in like two cultures, like
hmm
Korean culture and American culture. So
So you have a pretty good understanding of both, which helps
yeah,
you, which gives you a good advantage for this, where we're mixing a lot of Korean and American culture in esports.
right. But I guess it was so this season, Gladiators, there was American players, Korean players, but also like other,
hmm
European, Finnish players, Swedish player, Vietnamese players. So there were more than two cultures and then that I wasn't really familiar with. Um, I guess I was pretty lucky that all the players were like really nice, outgoing people.
hmm
So I didn't really have any like any problems with them in terms
Okay.
of the culture or anything. But um, yeah, I mean, it was like kind of interesting. It was, I mean, there was no like challenges, but it was pretty interesting to learn like new culture because I didn't really have much chance to like spend this much time with like a Finnish people, or
hmm
like Swedish people. So it was really fun like learning about like different countries and different cultures. But uh,
So that's
I don't think there was
Goose and LH Cloudy, right?
and Chaz. But
And Chess.
so I guess my short answer is like I was pretty lucky to have players that are really nice and like really outgoing. So I didn't really have any troubles. It was actually fun like learning other cultures.
What was some of the coolest things you learned from those players?
Um, so just a lot of different like personalities, I guess.
hmm
Because for me, like I only know Korean culture and American culture. I'm really not like cultured in other like countries or anything like that. So I kind of learned that like European people, especially like in Finland, people are more they're more like private, I guess. They keep more distance,
hmm
physically and like
Oh, okay.
yeah, like personally, I guess, than America or other countries. So you know, and I always thought like Korea was kind of like conservative in terms of like meeting new people, but just learning that like it's actually like different than in some countries it's even more conservative. So it kind of like opened my eyes a little bit in terms of like how other countries how different they are other
hmm
than America and Korea.
No, I think that's definitely a great point to bring up because
Yeah,
you're going to encounter so many different cultures throughout esports. If you're in the U.S., if you're in Asia, if you're in Europe, so
yeah.
it's really good perspective to keep, and you learned about it, which is great. Now you covered a bit of it, like you do a lot of like visas in the off season. Like, are there anything else in the off season that you do that people might not think of?
Um, mm, so I had a so if a team wants to bring a player, maybe sign a new player,
hmm
then of course coaches will be determining his or her game skills.
Yeah.
But I also have some input in terms of like maybe his personality or like work ethic or maybe something that I know that other people might not like know. So um, maybe one example, like I remember in NYXL, we were actually looking for a new head coach for XL2.
hmm
Our or
The academy team, right?
formerly the Canada team of NYXL. And I knew a really I had a friend of mine who I met in a game called Heroes of the Storm. I met a player called Wiz, and then we kind of got really close just playing that game together. he was a really good player. And he was looking to like be, he was also interested in like Overwatch as well. And although I didn't really know, like I'm not a pro, I'm not a coach or anything, so I don't know how good he is or
Hmm.
how uh how good he would be in coaching. But just in terms of like, I just know him well, so I just know that he's a good guy. I just know that he works hard. So just knowing that, I thought it was fair to give him a shot to apply as the
Okay.
head coach. Um, so I gave, kind of gave him the opportunity. I also gave the NYXL the opportunity to interview him.
Hmm.
Fortunately, that worked out, and then Wiz is still, he's now the head, coach of Washington Justice. So
Oh, okay.
worked out for him as well. Yeah, so that's things like that. Like of course, I'm not gonna like recommend a player to a coach because I'm not a better coach than like professional coaches. But if I see someone that I really will be great,
Hmm.
because he has a good personality and work ethic, then I can kind of like, yeah, recommend him maybe, or yeah. So that's one example of what I would do in off season.
Awesome. Cool. And then, so say a high school student is looking to get into the esports space, not necessarily as a team manager, but just in general. What do you think they should be doing right now so they can optimize their chances?
So this is one thing I'm really like passionate about, because so kind of give you to kind of give you guys the context. Um, so I dropped out of college, so I don't have a college degree. I was a high school graduate. And so after I dropped out of college, like it was really hard for me to get a job. And even though I got a few jobs, it was like really like, I was really struggling financially. Um, so actually like took like a year off completely, and
Hmm.
then because my thought process was that like, you know, by that time, I maybe had worked for like 5 years. I was working in like internet marketing companies, like some translations and stuff
Hmm.
like that. So I was doing things that I really didn't enjoy doing.
Yeah.
So I was kind of like, yeah, just forced to work basically, just for money, like, to be honest with you. So I was kind of tired of that. And then just 5 years into that, I was really like tired, frustrated, and then not really happy with my life. So imagining doing that for 20, 30 more years was not imaginable. Like I couldn't
Yeah.
imagine that, like for me, yeah, honestly. So yeah, I decided to like take like a year off completely, and then to find a work that I really would enjoy, like I would actually enjoy. So it came down to so the one thing that I enjoy the most is like video games and
Hmm.
esports. I've been playing games since I was really young.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I decided to like give my all, like looking for esports job. Let's see. Then to get long story, but to make it short, I found a coach called Wizard Hyung back then, who wasn't really known. He wanted a personal assistant,
Okay.
and then I became his personal assistant, and then I helped him like collect data for about 4 months, I believe.
Hmm.
No pay, obviously. Then a team called Selfless, I'm pretty sure a lot of people know, a team called Selfless before Overwatch League wanted a translator,
Hmm.
and then Wizard Town recommended me as a translator to them. So that was my first like actual like esports like team experience. And after that, I went to LW, Team LW, and then that became New York. And then yeah, by that time I'm pretty like I have no problem looking for other jobs in esports because I kind of have my foot in the door.
Yeah, it's always the trick.
Yeah, so that's my context. And I'm really passionate about this subject because like I had to start from like nothing. I knew no like pro gamers. I knew no one in esports.
Hmm.
So at first actually I wasn't like really sure if I could get it or not. That's why I gave myself 1 year, you know, because I couldn't like I wasn't really sure if that was even possible. But now that I've like actually like gone through the process, I know it's very possible. And even like even for high school students, I think it's really possible if you actually like. I know a lot of people like say, I work hard, or like, I'm really passionate about something like that, about video games or whatever they say they're passionate in. But uh, like actually following up and doing like work is like it's very rare
Mm,
in my
okay.
eyes, because now that I'm in esports, I see a lot of people like a lot of people like message me about like how can I join Gladiators, how can I become a streamer for Gladiators, how can I be whatever, blah blah blah, right? Um, but like, yeah, even them, like there's very few of them first of all, and then even the people who send me like messages,
Hmm.
they're not really like I can see they haven't really like thought through it that much. Like they just message me randomly, think like hoping for like a good answer,
Hmm.
but that's not gonna happen. So first of all, like if you're a high school student or anyone who looking for esports job, and if you really want it, and if really like if you really are passionate about it, then actually like spend like hours every day, like thinking like how am I gonna do this? How am I gonna get an esports job? So um, of course it's starting from zero is hard, but then to
Yeah.
give like to give like little tips, I guess, to get a head start. Um, you should all let's see. You should try to find something that you can actually be helpful in.
Hmm.
Um, so um, maybe like yeah, maybe if you're into arts, maybe if you're really good at drawing, then and then if you want to job in esports, then there's actually a lot of opportunity for that. Like you can actually first step that I would take is post your stuff on social media. There's a lot of people like I'm sure everyone has seen like people like post their drawings or their
Hmm.
like graphic designing logos or whatever for a certain player or a team, and they post it on their Twitter, and they like maybe tag the team so they can see it and stuff like that. Just do that, and then like get your name like out there. Because I'm pretty sure if you actually make a good logo or a good art for a player, um, and then if that player like likes it, then he'll
Hmm.
probably use that logo. Like, there's no
Yeah.
reason why he wouldn't use that. Um, so even though like yeah, so I would do that, and then even though you won't be making money, I'm guessing, you'll still get your money. I mean, you get your name out there.
Hmm.
Like I told you like I had to work for free for 4 months
Yeah.
before I got anything. So um, and then by the way, I work for like I think maybe 12 to 14 hours a day for like six,
Oof.
7 days a week, like for 4 months. It wasn't like 8 hours a day, like 5 days. It was like
That's
actually
intense.
yeah. So actually, you gotta actually spend time
Hmm.
on that, and then yeah. So if you say you work hard, if you say you're passionate, and then if you really are, then you should actually do that. So
Awesome.
that's the first step that I would take. So yeah, get your name out there.
Hmm.
Um, and then second step is actually contacting the teams. So if I guess if you're really talented, and then if you're really good,
Hmm.
and then people can see that, then teams would reach out to you first. Like for example, like the New York coach, the head coach for New York right now, Ent,
Hmm.
he actually was he actually like was just like a uh so there's a site called Invent in Korea. Um, basically like a Reddit in Korea. That's the
Hmm.
like easiest way to put it. It's basically Reddit of Korea in on esports. So Impt would post like his analysis posts on Invent. Like he would like like analyze a game,
Hmm.
and then like he would like write his thoughts about it on Invent like posts, and that would go very viral because it's really good. So it will go viral. It will get a lot of like likes. It'll get shared everywhere. So his name got out there. That's the first that I said. His name got out there,
Hmm.
and then actually New York, we reached out to to him first, asking, do you have a interest in becoming a coach? So if you're really talented like Impt
Yeah.
was, then you will if you just take the first step, you'll get calls from teams. But I'm pretty sure that's not the case for most people. That wasn't the case for
Not going to be
me.
for everyone. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely wasn't the case for me. So second step would be actually letting the teams know about your skills, and then like applying.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so that's I mean, honestly, it's really easy to contact the teams right now. Nowadays, there's a lot of people on Discord, and even if you Google like some teams, you can see who the head coach is, who the GM is. You can email them, or you can DM them on Instagram or Twitter or whatever. So easy to contact them. Um, so yeah, I guess I guess I put it in the two steps. So mm, yeah, so I would really recommend if you really want to job in esports, like first get your name out there, and then after that second step will be pretty easy. Like just contacting the teams and then like sending them your work, and then if they like you, they'll show interest.
Hmm.
If not, then if you contact like teams and then if they don't respond to you, then you should think about like maybe you gotta get better at whatever you're doing.
Or like
Spend some
refine what
time.
you can offer to them.
Yeah. So if you're a graphic designer and then if you send a lot of R's to teams, but then no one really seems to respond, then maybe you should like take some classes in graphic designing. That's what I would do. Yeah, if I were to be if I want to be a graphic designer in esports. Um,
Awesome.
yeah, and the last thing I guess I want to say is so yeah, again, as a person who like has a foot in esports, like um, the reason why I push a lot of people to if you really like esports, then you should look for a job in esports because honestly, like in esports, there's like a lot of holes right now.
Yeah.
I would say there's a lot of holes that can be filled um, by anyone really that works hard and or who are passionate. Um, so I guess the last step I will take is once you're in esports, like you can't just be like, oh, I made it. You gotta actually keep taking, if you took classes to become a good graphic designer, keep taking those classes.
Keep learning.
Take, maybe more advanced classes. But yeah, keep learning because obviously people know that esports is like a booming, industry. So even if you are like even if you got your foot in the door, like it might be a little hard to keep yourself in esports if you don't keep improving. So yeah, my last step would be like, yeah, keep improving whatever you're doing.
Just like the players, they have to make sure they
Yeah,
keep top form for their spot, and so do the
right.
people in esports. Because, like you said, it's a growing industry, and a lot of people want to be in it, and there's a lot of talent always coming up.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Awesome. Well, last thing I just want to ask you is like, what's been your favorite esports moment you had?
Um, has to be when I was in New York and then we won our first state championship. I mean, just being uh like all the players and coaches and me, like we were on the stage
Hmm.
after we won the championship, and then just in front of the fans, they're all cheering for us, and then the confetti's flying, and like even that moment itself was like unforgettable. Um, but even before that, like I mean, I don't, yeah, people probably remember, but like we actually got reverse swept in stage one finals of
Hmm.
that year. So we got reversed in the first championship of first stage of first Overwatch League. So we were like very disappointed, and then
Yeah.
so yeah, when we actually reverse swept Philly ourselves to win the our first stage championship, it was like just the fact that we uh failed and then kind of like we succeeded after that was, yeah, I think it made it even like more sweeter. So yeah, just being there, like, and the confetti's flying on stage after winning the championship was like my favorite moment probably.
Awesome. Well, I feel like the Shock would agree with you on that point of losing first and then getting that sweet, sweet victory that they got
Yeah.
for stage two against the Titans. Because that was,
Yep.
I know as a fan, I was watching. I watched the first stage one against them when they lost, and I watched stage two and they won. Like that was an amazing experience as a fan, and like watching those kind of storylines and
Right.
getting to experience them on your end has to just be incredible.
Hmm.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Although I didn't, have a chance to, win the like Overwatch League like a season championship yet, but
Not yet.
yeah, hopefully we'll do that next year in Gladiators.
There you go. Awesome. Well, that is all I have for you. So I want to thank you very much for taking the time to chat with me today. For everyone else out there, I hope you enjoyed this interview, and I'll catch you all next time.
Thank you.